All right, we're going to continue on our project for doing CSC 187. We're doing our scene. This is the scene that I'm doing. This is part 3. So far, I have blocked out the room, part 1, and part 2, I modeled this TV here. In part 3, I'm going to model this TV setup here. So I have my project folder with my scenes in it. So remember, you want to always be saving your scenes so that you can go back to certain points of it. And then I have my reference images in my source images folder, things that I'm going to be using. Since this is a something I'm going to be using as a kind of like a memorial for Neil Peart's death from Rush, I'm going to put his picture in this TV, kind of like this has a faded image in it of a person looking through binoculars. I'm going to put his image in there. At least that's my plan. This is a personal project, at least something I'll do later. But the modeling and everything is perfect for this kind of scene. So for this kind of setup. So in my world here, I have my reference image in the back, and over here in my perspective view, you can see what I have so far. I have my basic scene blocked out, inside a simple cube. I haven't blocked in the windows yet or anything like that, but I have my TV. You can see since I've added some 3D text, which is just going into create and going into type and creating text that way. So in the text tool here, it will allow you to type in the word that you want. So right now there's this giant 3D text in the scene. And if I change this to something, I change it to the band name, and then I change the type to something else, then I used that. So it was a real quick and easy thing to do in my scene. And I just took it and used it as little elements, because in my reference image there's some parts of the scene that I can't really see, and so I just kind of made that up. It looks like 4 different letters here, 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 and here, so I just made, and then I put an R up here. And you could do any kind of thing you wanted in that, because it's your image, so you could put whatever. But right now what I want to focus on is modeling this TV and this table for this section of the image. So I'm going to keep it pretty quick. So I blocked it in right here. So here's going to be my little table. Here's going to be my little my image here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hide this. Now I put these things on a different layer so that I could hide them. And I'm going to add, I have my TV here, and I have it in a group. So I have a TV1 group, because I'm calling this TV1, and I'm going to add it to my layer. So this is in layer 2, and nothing is in this layer, so I'm going to add it to this layer. I'm going to say add selected. Then I can hide that. Those little guys need to go in there too. That should be in my group, actually. The type, I hadn't added it. So I'm just going to simply drag that, my middle mouse, and drop it into that group. And then it's gone. So if there's anything else I'm missing. So what I'm going to do is, I'm using this as a kind of a reference. I'm going to go back to my quad view. And I'm going to my front view, and I'm just going to I'm going to use this as my base, because these TVs are similar, and I don't really know what kind of TV this is to do a search. Maybe it's kind of like a futuristic TV, so I'm going to I could probably maybe get by duplicating my other one, but for now I'm just going to kind of look at this and estimate it from there. So I'm going to begin with just a simple cube. And nothing spectacular. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do this pretty quickly. Snap it to I'm using holding down X to snap it to this grid point. Hold down X, notice this changes. Then I can snap to the grid anywhere that I want. And I'm just going to snap it right over here. I'll just kind of use this as my estimate But I'm going to go into my Polycube inputs, and I'm going to change my subdivisions a little bit because I just want to add some subdivisions. And nothing too much. As a matter of fact, that'll probably do. Remember this, when I go into my into component mode, and when I hit 1, 2, or 3, there's 1 on my keyboard, 2, I can see my bounding box, and 3, I get my preview of the smooth. So what I want to do, because this is kind of I'm working in orthographic view, I'm going to grab this and this. So I'm getting all of those vertices. I'm going to frame this in. So I'm getting all those vertices around those edges. And what I want to do is, I just want to scale those out. So I'm going to use the uniform scale, and what I'm going to get is kind of this shape. It's going to kind of make it a little bit round, which is what I want. So if I keep going, oops, if I go that way, I'm going to go specifically in one direction or another. If I keep going like this, I can reshape that. What I want to do is just kind of give it a little bit of a roundness here. Not too round. Now if I grab these, if I scale them down a little bit, I can kind of square that up. So I'm just going to kind of square it a little. And I'm just trying to do some bulk shaping of this. And if I want this to be a little more square, I can do that. So I might keep my shape something along the lines of that. I'm going to try to model it a little bit differently. Last time I went in and I modeled the inner faces, and this time I think what I'm going to do is just extrude out a little bit on the edges. So I'm going to try that. So I'm going to go back to my perspective view. I'm going to grab the faces around the outside by clicking on, oops, what I don't want is that. Notice how those faces are going to go in. Don't necessarily want that, so that's it looks okay from the front. Let me get myself oriented here, my front of my TV. So should be the front of my TV. So what I want to do is just bring that back out. So I just kind of have a rounded TV shape. So that's how those got sunk. So as I sunk those in, so what I want to do now is take these, and sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'll model something and my idea won't work, right? So and I gotta keep myself, so this is the outside of the TV. Go back here. So what I want to do is, what I want, actually, it looks like I got the wrong parts. I want to do the outer edges, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to go this way with it. This one and this, and then I'm holding down Shift and this one and that one, and I'm getting that ring like that. And before I do that, what I want to do is take this edge, and this is the kind of stuff that you'll be doing when you model, because as you work with this stuff, you've got to kind of figure out what, how to approach it. So I'm going to flatten that like so, and then so what I'm doing is I'm taking my edges, this edge, and all these edges like this, and I'm scaling them in that direction to give me a flat. So what I want is this would be the front of the TV, and these will be the edges. So this is the front, and I'll get to the details of that in a second, or the details of the TV. So now I have the outer edge. So I want to make an extrusion here and lift those out. So as I extrude, I'll pull that edge out. And so what I'm thinking is I'll have my face here, but then I have this kind of outer edge here, and it'll taper down. Right now I don't have any tapers happening at the moment. I'm just going to set this over here a little bit. I'm going to pull this up, move that over, and I'm going to bring this in a little bit. Just kind of work side by side, looking at kind of like looking at a reference image. It is a reference image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these faces, and what I should have done, I'm going to use the shortcut Shift right arrow, so the greater than symbol, and I'm going to scale this down to kind of give me that curved look. So now I have this kind of taper, then I have an edge here, and then I'm going to have like this little TV extrusion here. So I'm going to take these faces, I'm going to grab them, and I'm going to extrude those out a little bit. So then I'm going to lift that face out, I'm going to scale it down, and then I'll take this vertex here and just pull it out a little bit to give it a little bit of a curve. So that'll give me a little curved TV screen like so. And then what I'll do is I will put in a little edge, insert an edge loop. I'm going to say insert edge loop. It gets a little messy here. I'm going to go mono low. So what I want to do is insert an edge loop around here and here to kind of hold that edge. So there and here. Boop, and just to kind of tighten that edge up. And then that'll give me a nice little lip and then a screen that kind of bows like that. So I'm going to hit F8 to go back to object mode, hit the Q button to get out of the screen, so F8, and then see that? See how I get that nice edge when I hold that, and these edges, when the edges are added, it pulls that tension in. I get a nice round space because I have more gaps between my geometry here. I get a nice round, and then I get this nice and I'm doing that with very little geometry. So what I'll do is I'll come back here, I'll take this face, I'm going to do a scale, I'm going to scale this down in place. Here's another way to do that. If I hit this little cyclical index, I can go to the center, and I'm just simply going to take this face, scale it down uniformly, and then I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to scale it down, and I will pull that out just a little bit more and scale it down uniformly. I'm going to push it back a little bit because that's going to give me a nice rounded back end. And if I want that edge to be more round, I can just offset that, or I can pull it out a little bit, or I can round it up or scale it up just to give a little bit more of a rounded feel. And I think for the most part, overall, the whole thing's a little too thick. So I'm just going to take my vertices and I'm just going to move them all backwards a little bit, like so, to shrink that up. Because I have everything kind of organized, so there's not so much geometry, I can't work with it. So here is the way my TV looks, and I'm not going to worry too much about it. It looks like it might be a little bit wider than it is, than I have it. So actually I'm just going to do that with object mode. I just might do that. And there's my little TV, a little bit, maybe a little bit not quite square enough, so I might take these in to square it a little bit. Maybe something like that. And those are the details that you can work with forever until you get it the way you want. So there is kind of my basic TV here. I need to bring down a base from it. So let me go in and see what we got. So I'm going to go back to this. Oops. I'm going to go back to my little poly. And this is going to be, I think what I'll do is I'll take these. So I got to decide what I want to, how I want to do that. I want it to be round. So I'm going to save my scene. And sometimes, because I'm not sure if I want to do something, I will duplicate something. So I'm going to name this. This is TV2. TV2 top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually duplicate it because I'm going to do something on this one that I might not like, and I don't want to have to try to fix it, so I'll just use the duplicate. So I'm going to say Control D and make a copy of it, and I'm just going to hit, I'm going to go up and say Display, Hide Selection. So I'm just going to say Hide Selection for a second, and I'll get that back if I need it. So what I want to do is I'm going to go this face, this face, this face, this face, and I'm going to extrude it in. So I'm going to do a extrude in place kind of thing, like this. And this is what I'm going to do. Watch, this is a cool trick. Hang on. I'll get rid of some of these things so you can see a little better. I'm going to take these vertices, one, two, oops, all of these vertices. I'm going to pull down and Shift Select. You'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 vertices here. And what I want to do is make a perfect circle out of those. And one of the ways I can do that is go up to Edit Mesh and say Circularize. And you'll notice that what it does is it turns that into a circle. And you're going to say, well, why would I want to do that? Because a circle can become a it's very easy, and since it's right there, I'm going to kind of flatten it out a little bit. And I'm going to take this, and this is more of an experiment. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take all of these. Again, if I hold, nope. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got that kind of like that, I'm going to take these faces, and I'm going to flatten it. Like so, and then I can extrude that. Just make sure it's still lined up. See how it's lined up? And I'm going to say extrude. I'm going to pull that down, scale it in just a slight little bit, and then I'm going to hit G. I'm going to scale it down, scale it up a little bit. So I've just made this little base right there. When I smooth that, you'll see that I'm going to take this bottom faces, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to delete that. And now I have that beautiful little base that looks lovely. And I'm going to insert my edge loop here just to hold the crease right there and right there and here. So when I smooth that, notice that it gives me that nice crease. I've got a nice shape right there. All right, now that I have that, I'm going to go back to object mode. Now I have that beautiful little form. I don't have a lot of geometry on this thing, but I have a beautiful form that will hold the shapes that I want. And I'm not going to see this back here, but technically I should probably put in a edge loop right about there to hold that form. And that would be about it. This TV doesn't have a lot of hard edges, and so I'm not going to really bother with much more detail on it. If I wanted to, I could probably put a hard edge right here, just to kind of give it the impression that it has something. So I might insert, and I will do that not by inserting the edge. Let me go back to F8. I don't think I'm going to do that because I just like this, and I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to leave it like it is. All right, now basically I need to put it on a table. It's going the wrong way. That's okay. I'm going to see how it fits in my scene. I'm just going to put it on the table now. This table here is going to be fairly straightforward. I'm going to move it down to the origin so that I can work on it there. Bring it up, and then I will want it to be rotated anymore. Well, I do want it to be rotated around that way, so I can just kind of look at it. All right, now I'm going to make this simple little base that it's on. And I'm just going to use a cube. I'm going to say TV2 table. Let's call it table. And I'm just going to rough that out a little bit. I don't have to worry about it too much. It looks like it's just fairly straightforward here. Going to move it a little bit, just kind of get an estimate. Looks like it's pretty close. And again, since I don't have drawings or references very much, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It feels a little bit too wide to me. So I'm just going to rough this in. So let's say this is the table. And I'm just going to extrude in a face. I'm going to add an edge right here and extrude in this face. I'm going to keep it pretty darn simple. So I'm actually going to do it real quick, insert edge loop. And I'm going to do it, I'm thinking this is like a quarter of the way, so here'd be half, here'd be about a quarter. So I'm going to just put in a couple little edge loops right here. Oops, that one went in a little bit lower. Let's get close so I can see it. And that little edge will be this little piece of wood or trim. Then there'll be a knob down here and a knob over there and some sort of text or something here. And these are going to be extruded in. So these faces are just going to come in a little bit. So this is a fairly easy thing to do here. So I am going to take these faces and I am going to go to my perspective view. And I'll turn this stuff off. I'm going to hide that, put my finger in the right spot here, and I am going to do one at a time here. Well, I could, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extrude, and I'm just going to extrude uniformly down a little bit. And I'm going to look at my number over here, so as I extrude this down, I'm looking at the values, my scale, because I want to use kind of the same thing. I'm not getting too much. I want to keep these edges kind of thin, and I'm just going to kind of do something like this for this thickness of the wood here, and maybe just a tiny little bit. I want to capture the light, so I'm just going to bring it in. So it'll be non-uniform. And so I have these values here, 0.912 and 0.963. Let's just go 960 and 915. Oops, this is 0.915. 0.915. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing to this one, but since I have this, I'm just going to push this in a little bit with my extrude. So now I'm going to push it in. See how I push that face in a little bit? Just like it's inset there. Gives me a nice little lip. I'm going to go down here, I'm going to extrude in place, or what I call uniform scale. And this one's going to have to come down a little bit. And I'm just going to eyeball this again. Now this one's going to be a little tricky because this kind of sticks out. So this edge is actually in line with this one. So I may have to adjust that. So I'm just going to kind of look at that. Bring my values up. 0.96, so 0.96, 0.915, 0.915, and 0.95, just a little bit. And then I'm going to extrude that in. Now this isn't super critical, but I just want to push that in a little bit. And I didn't look at the value on this extrude. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. All right. Nice. All right, so now I've got some of those features there, and sometimes this will slant. It's kind of like, so I'm going to have this edge here, which is this face that sticks out, and I think it appears that it might be at the same level, but I can't quite tell. So I'm going to leave it like that. I need a knob here, and I need some little text down there. So again, I can go back and use some of the things that I've used in the past, and in this particular case, this kind of looks like it has molding or something, so I'm not sure exactly how that is made or how deep this is. So these all kind of look like they're at the same level, but then it kind of goes back, so without seeing it, I'm not super sure. So I think what I'm going to do is I may just put a knob there. I just want light to capture it. And so it's a little hard to tell what exactly is going on, because this is coming off the wood, but it also seems to cross, and maybe that's a shadow. Maybe that doesn't stick out. Yeah. So this is something I may rough in right now, and if I just figure out what it actually is, I may go back and change that. So I may want to change that, or I could just ad-lib it and make it what I think it is, or I could just put a knob right there. Now I've already kind of made a knob over here, and if I want to repurpose that, I certainly could, and I may repurpose some of it just for speed in this particular case. But I'm going to say okay. So now what I got is I got to add some legs to this, which aren't going to be, and then a little bottom here. So four legs that look like they kind of stick off the edges, which shouldn't be too bad, and then just another basic bottom to this thing. So that's really all I'm going to do for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that very simply. I'm going to hit F8 to go back into object mode. I'm going to create a cube. I'm going to call this TV2 legs. And I'm not going to do too much with this, really. I'm just going to scale it down to look like kind of like a leg here. And I'm not going to worry about the details too much. I'm going to make this bigger, go into my perspective view. I'm just going to kind of, I'm not like it with this, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to make them look substantial. So a leg that might stick off the edge here. And then I'm just going to extrude that down. Wouldn't have to, really, wouldn't have to do too much with it. Looks fairly straightforward. So I'll just take this face, oops, on this. My angle's off, so it's throwing my, just take this face and extrude it down. And there's not a lot of details, it's in the shadows. I will want to, I'm not going to do much more than that, and I'm going to take this face off because I don't need it, and it'll round at the bottom if I don't. So now this is something I'm actually going to just take this edge out. I don't believe I need that edge, so I'm going to go to Edit Mesh. I'm going to say Delete Vertex and Edges. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel these edges. So beveling, again, adds edges to your geometry, and it splits those edges so that light, I don't need to, I'll bevel these for good measure just so that everything is, don't mess up the geometry, and make sure I have that one on the inside, although I probably would need it. And then I'm going to go to bevel and just say bevel, and I'm going to adjust that bevel so that it isn't particularly huge, so my fractional value. And all I really want to do is just to capture some light. So there's a basic leg on this table, and I'm going to actually go back and look at this. And it's going to kind of go out, just kind of go straight down. So I'm going to hit A, modify. I can't see the leg that well, so I may look at some references. And it's going to go out just a tiny little bit. Oops, I don't want that. I want the object. I don't want, just want to basically have it go out like so. Maybe I do want to bend that, so I'll have to kind of see how that's connected. It may go across like this and down, but for now, I'm going to bring my other scene back up so I can kind of see what I got. So this moment's really large. I only have a couple things in my scene, and I'm going to just try to set it over there. So I'm going to grab these, I'm going to say Control G, and I'm going to group them. Notice that I have group 2, and I'm going to name that TV2GRP for group. The only thing that's in that group are these objects, so I'm going to bring in my other TV for scale. And I'm going to kind of go here. I'm going to go into my front view, and I'm going to simply look at this. And my other one is over here. And this one to the TV, so this edge is here and here. The scale isn't too bad. Just kind of look at it like this. The table might be a little too big. I'm going to take these guys, I'm going to hide them. Go to display, hide, or Control H. And I have this, my quick one, push up my up arrows, rotate, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. And I'm going to look at my reference a little bit. This is along this edge, so I have a scene set up with my camera. So I'm going to go to Panels, and I'm going to go to Shot Cam. I'm going to match this. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go to View, go to Camera Settings. And this is kind of the shot, so I want to see a little bit So this has got a little bit of an angle on it, but ultimately I'm just trying to get the scale right for my leg. All right, so that's not horrible. So that doesn't look too bad to me. The TV is has a little bit more of an angle on it, so it'll be more like something like this. And so that's looking pretty good. And so I like all of that. So I can kind of see that. So I'm pretty happy with that. And what I want to do is I still have details on this. I haven't added any bevels. If you'll notice this, I have bevels. Where you get down to the edges, you can see that these edges have been beveled. So I want to bevel the key corners of this. So I'm going to take these. So the edges that are going to be capturing light, these inner edges. So I'm going to do several different ones. I'm not going to do all of them once. So this inner edge here. I have to go into this mode. So I have this nice inner edge. I just want this one. And I'm going to want to bevel that. So I will say edit mesh bevel. And I need to adjust those values. So I'm going to go in. Because all I really want is just a little bit of light to hit that. I'm going to add a little bit of a bevel to this across the top here. And do another bevel. I'm going to go into my settings and hit edit and make sure everything is reset. Edit, reset settings, bevel. And it's putting on a pretty big bevel, so I have to kind of go back and adjust that. I want a pretty small bevel. 0.05, maybe even less than that, 0.01. Giving me a little bit of a bevel there. All right. So there, I've got some, just a little bit. I don't need too much. This isn't a big key object in my scene. But I do want light to shine on that. So I'll hit G to do it, bevel again, 0.01. Gives me just a tiny little bit. It might increase that up to 0.5. There we go. So notice how I'm sometimes hitting direct numbers, sometimes I'm using a slider and just kind of looking at it. But I'm always kind of going back and forth. I'm always kind of going back and forth between either adding in a real value, either using the slider or hitting a real value on something. All right, here we go. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Here is this last box that will be another type of. So I could cannibalize this for this as well. So if I don't want to remodel something like this, just got that little tray down at the bottom, and I'll have a lot of details. I could take something from here. But what I want to do is, I also want to finish my legs. Control D, so that's going to be a leg. And I'm going to put another one here. And this doesn't have to be animated or anything. This is really just a prop. I'm going to duplicate that and move that. Rotate that a little bit and make sure it's kind of in place off to the back. I don't have to worry too much about that one. Oops. And then control duplicate and put that there. Again, it just has to be kind of in place. I don't have to worry too much about it. Looks like it's tilted a little bit. Like this whole thing is rotated. It doesn't appear to be. And then all I really need to do is just create a little table, TV2 table, TV2 bottom tray. And I could put something really cool. I could put things down there that I wanted. So this is where you can use your own imagination to kind of decide how and what you're going to do with these objects. You know, you could put items on there that you want. You could put pictures down there. You could do all kinds of stuff. So this is a group. So my group is rotated 114 degrees. So my table tray is 114 around. To look at that again. 14. So what I want to do is kind of line this up and move this into place. And I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just need it to be down there, and I'll give it some extra geometry. So I'm going to be just kind of doing this again and again and again. And this is when working from the top can be ideal. I'm going to frame that in, and I can see much more easily when I do this from the top. And then I can move it in place, and what I'm going to do is just kind of scale it down and just kind of move it around a little bit, just to fit it in there. So now it's under that space, and I'll look at it. There's my TV tray. It's going to go down. It needs to be a little bit longer and a lot lower. So I'm going to put it right down there, and I'm just going to grab the vertices of this and just kind of pull them into that area and pull them into that area a little bit. Good. And then I'm just going to extrude this face down. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to say extrude, and I'm going to extrude in the edges a little bit, just a little bit, and then extrude down. Hit G and extrude that down. So now, so I've made just the bottom, and again, I'm going to take the inner edges and the outer edges, and I'm simply just going to do a little bevel with those, just to give them a little bit of some thickness, and just a tiny little bit. Something like that. That way when the light hits it, it'll actually show something. So I could put something down there. But now I have the basics of this, and I probably will take this knob from this object, and I will take that and this one, and say Control D, and I'm going to steal it from here, and I'm going to move it over to there. I'm going to go into World, and I'm going to just do a quick little, I'm going to scale it up a little bit. I'm going to thicken it a little bit. Oops, not that. Now this will still be part of that other group, so I'm going to have to take it out of that group, which is no big deal. So for basics, I'm just going to take this edge, just going to pull it back, scale it up a little bit, kind of change the model. Go back to object mode, grab both of these, and then I'm going to put it over here in this place. Now, I'm going to take this object, and just kind of place it into the scene like this. Line it up a little bit. Take this, move it down. I'm going to change its orientation and all that. I may not even need to do that, but See how this is off? Use the object's component space to move it in. Move it over. Center it. Change it. And I can adjust that all I want. But for the most part, it gives me kind of the feel of what's going on over there. A little bit of this, a little bit here. Maybe I don't need that dial thingy. I could get rid of that. And I might just leave it like that and extrude this center part in. This feels like it goes in. So I'll take the face here. And I think I'll just extrude that in just to give it a little bit more interest, like so. And maybe just leave it like that. And if I want to, I can hit G, scale it in uniformly again, hit the blue center, and then maybe G again and bring it out. Maybe G again, scale it down. Maybe G again, scale it back in. And I have a completely different knob, and completely different knob that will work. It adds interest, it has form, it has cool edges that I can then add my bevels to. I probably won't get that close to these, so all these edges here, 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 and here, they can all get, I put in a bevel already on that, so I will undo that. But these could all have bevels on them to make sure see what I'm doing. And if I put in a bevel on all those, I just get a little extra geometry that allows me to capture light. Alright, so I'm going to go F8, go out. So now I have that basics of that table right there. I'm going to check my reference in my perspective view, my shot cam, and go back to shaded. Now you can see I have continued to build that TV, and I've got this TV, and now I've got one more TV to build right there. So far so good. And I would turn that a little bit more because it looks like it kind of faces like so. Alright, so that's looking good. I'm going to save my scene. I should have saved a long time ago. So now I've got some little details. I might add some other things as I go, but it depends on the amount of time that I have and all that. So now I have one more TV to make, and that will be what I do in the next video.